So we're going to begin with the Qigong stance. So what you need to do to feel really balanced is to have a solid grounding, have the soles of your feet in contact with the ground and feel as though the ground is supporting you really, really well. So look down at your feet for a moment and just see where they are. Have a look and make sure that your feet are about hip-width distance apart. So mine are a little bit wide, so I'm going to bring them in. And the toes are facing towards the front. And then just look down at your toes and lift them off the ground. So lift your toes up. And then as you place the toes back down on the ground, see if you can spread your toes apart and then just place them back down on the ground. So you feel as though you've got a nice broad footing. So you don't put your toes all kind of close together because that's just narrowing the base that you have in order to feel grounded. So you've got this nice grounded, good contact with the ground. So now, just use your arms for balance and rock backwards and forwards. Just moving from the ball of the foot and then back towards the heel. Just trying not to fall over and just have this idea of your feet being in contact with the ground. And as you now begin to just make that movement a little bit smaller, not going forwards or backwards so far, come to a middle point where you're resting. And you should feel as though the weight is distributed evenly between the balls of the feet and the heels, and then come to rest. And just for a moment now, close your eyes and think about your feet. Think about the contact that your feet have with the ground. The heels, the middle part of the foot between the heel and the ball of the foot. Then the ball of the foot and all the toes. The big toes, second toes, third toes, fourth toes, little toes. Think of the sides of the feet, the outside edges of the feet, and their contact with the ground. The inside edges of the feet, and their contact with the ground. So almost feeling as though you're superglued to the ground, giving you really good, stable support. So next in the stance, you want to be very relaxed in the knees. So knees just with a little micro bend, and then checking that there's no curvature in the lower back. So you want the lower back to be more or less flat so that the vertebrae of the lower back feel very open, not kind of squashed and crunched together. And you do that by tucking the tailbone under. So I'm just going to turn to the side so you can see that now. So if you have the tailbone sticking out like this, do you see how there's a curve in my back here? So what you want to do is bring the tailbone under, and this flattens the back more. So that's what you're looking for, this lovely openness in the lower back area. And while I'm here sideways on, you also want to have lovely openness in the back of the neck. So again, I'm going to turn to the side and you'll be able to see I'm just going to tuck the chin back towards my throat. So just tucking the chin back in this direction, and then you'll see that we get this lovely length in the back of the neck here. So when you have those two areas very open, the neck and the lower back area, you'll feel a lot more stable. You won't feel as though you're in tension. You won't feel as though you're kind of tipping forwards or backwards. You'll be much more relaxed. And relaxation in this position, in this standing position, is very important, because it's only if we feel really tense that we're more likely to be off balance. If you're very relaxed and you feel as though the ground is supporting you and holding you up, there is no reason to fall over. It's only when we tense up that we become a little bit more rigid and the movement is not so easy. So you're more likely to fall or to lose your balance. So in this standing position now, just with the arms loosely hanging down by your sides, close your eyes and then close your mouth, bringing your mind to your breath. So the tongue is resting against the roof of the mouth with the tip of the tongue against the back of the upper teeth. And breathing in and out through the nose using your abdominal breathing. So the first class of this series was showing you abdominal breathing. So if you haven't done that one yet, you might want to go back to it and have a look at that one. And breathing into your belly. Feel the belly expand like blowing up a balloon. And then as you exhale, feel the belly shrinking back toward the spine. So just keeping going like that for a few breaths. Stay nice and tall, feeling that contact of the feet with the ground. Now, as I said, it's very important to maintain a nice relaxed state as we're standing and then as we go to move around. So as you're standing there right now with the eyes closed, just scanning down through your body, starting at the head and working down towards the toes, and see if you notice any areas where you might be holding a little bit of tension. If you notice any area that's holding tension, then each time you breathe out, just say to yourself, relax. And in your mind's eye, see that area relaxing and expanding, almost like, again, like we're blowing up a balloon. So seeing yourself letting go of that tension. So with the eyes closed now, starting at the head, we'll scan down through the body. So observing how you feel in the head. Working down now into the neck. Bring your awareness to the shoulders. And then down into the upper arms, the elbows, the forearms, the wrists, the hands, into the thumbs, the index fingers, middle fingers, ring fingers, little fingers. Now thinking of your chest, bring your mind to your upper back, your shoulder blades, releasing any tension in that area. Now thinking of your abdomen, the lower back, buttocks. Often people, when they're standing, hold a lot of tension in the buttocks. So releasing any tension, letting go, and trusting the ground to support you. Thinking into the hips, the thighs, the knees, the lower legs, the ankles, into the feet. Feeling that contact of the soles of the feet with the ground. Thinking into the big toes, second toes, third toes, fourth toes, fifth toes. And as you scanned down through your body, did you notice any areas of tension or discomfort? If you did now, just work with a few breaths as you breathe out, thinking of that area and releasing any tension from that part of the body. Just getting easier and more relaxed with each exhalation. And now just gently opening the eyes. And so that's your Qigong stance. And as you're standing there right now, hopefully you're feeling as though you're relaxed and you're well supported by the ground in this position. So from this nice relaxed position now, what we're going to move on to is a little bit of practice on the balance and then a little bit with leg strength, and then we'll combine the two. So firstly, what I'd like you to do, if you need a chair or a table to hold you in a balanced position with this, you might want to grab it right now. And what we're going to do first of all is just come up onto the tiptoes. So just coming up onto your tiptoes and see if you can hold it. And then come back down again. And you may want to use your arms to balance. So as you come up, if you want to come up and use the arms out to the sides or out to the front, whatever allows you to stay nice and balanced on your tiptoes. And then come back down. And now doing it with the breath. So breathing in, coming up. And breathing out, coming down. Breathe in, coming up. Breathe out, coming down. One more time, breathe in, coming up. And breathe out, coming down. And now, see if you can just shift the weight to one side and stand on one leg. So you can lift the foot off the ground, just maybe a couple of inches. Hold it, and then place the foot back down. Make sure now you're feeling nice and stable and supported before you shift the weight to the other side, and then lift the other leg. Keep breathing into the belly. And place the foot down. Get back into your lovely Qigong stance again. And one more time to each side, lifting, breathing. Use your arms to balance, or use a chair or a table to support you. And to the other side. Nice and slowly, there is no rush. Staying nice and tall, keeping the tailbone tucked in, keeping the length in the back of the neck. And back down again. Checking your stance, maybe looking down at your feet just to make sure they're in the starting position. Okay, that's lovely. Okay, now this time, coming onto one leg, and if you can, lifting the leg a little higher. If you can't, just stay with what you were doing already just by lifting the foot a couple of inches off the ground. If you can, lift the knee up. And then step back down and come to the other side. Keep breathing. And step back down. And again, up, breathing in. Breathing out. Breathing in. Breathing out. Breathing in. Breathing out. Breathing in. Breathing out. Okay, and again, just checking your stance, making sure that you're comfortable in this position. Now, this time, shifting the weight to one side and see if, with one leg off the ground, as high or as low as you want, see if you can come up onto your tiptoes. Now, this is hard. See if you can balance, and then come back down, and then switch to the other side. So much more difficult. Coming up, breathe in, and breathe out, come down. And let's just try one more to each side. So this is really hard. Even for me, I have to focus, and it's even harder when I'm talking as well. So coming up, really feel that length in the back of the neck, and down, and to the other side, coming up, Feel as though the sky is lifting you up and down. So not so easy with that one, okay? So they're just a few little balances that you can use, and you can build on that and do it maybe a little bit faster by doing some marching as well. You can bring the arms into this as well. So if you lift up one leg and just tap the knee with the same hand, same side, and then back down, and tap the knee on the other side. Breathe in, breathe out, breathe in, breathe out, breathe in, breathe out, breathe in, breathe out. And now swapping, so you're doing the opposite hand with the opposite knee. So breathe in, breathe out, breathe in, breathe out, breathe in, breathe out, breathe in, breathe out. One more to each side. Breathe in, breathe out, breathe in, breathe out. So all of those kinds of movements are really, really good for developing your sense of balance and your sense of connection with the ground. And the more you can maintain the Qigong stance, that stability with the ground, that connection with the ground, but also that lovely kind of tightness here, that tucked tailbone, the length in the back of the neck, all of those things will really help you to maintain that balance as you do the exercises. So now we're going to move on to the leg strength element of being able to feel confident and feel balanced. So having good leg strength is really important for this. So a really quick and easy way to build it up, and this will just be practiced little and often each day, ideally, and you'll be very quickly able to build it up, is to practice something called a horse stance. And I think we did something similar in the second lesson, but not quite the same. We did a position where the legs were wider apart than shoulder width, but not quite like this. So what I'm going to ask you to do now, again, if you're able, is to step aside, one side, the other side, just so you're kind of more than shoulder width distance apart with the feet. And if you look at my feet, you'll see that again, they're parallel. So it's like in the normal standing position, the big toes are pointing forwards. Okay. So from this position then, what you're going to do is you're going to bend the knees and allow them to move out over your feet. So that's a very important movement. So I'll show you the correct way to do it, and then I'll show you the way not to do it, because that can cause a little bit of damage if you do it incorrectly. So when you move into this position, you're going to bend the knees, and then you see how they move outwards over my feet. And it's like you're sitting down on a horse. Now, the incorrect way to do this is to bend the knees and allow them to fall in like this. And this puts a lot of strain on the outsides of the thighs and the ligaments on the outsides of the knees. So if you find that this is happening to you, then you need to bring your stance in narrower, so that you just step in a little bit so that you can move the knees out to the side. So you've got the knees like this, in this nice position, sitting kind of directly over the ankles. So this is a horse stance, and if I can show you from the side, you'll see what I mean by the sitting down position. So just turning onto the side, you maybe can't see my feet, but you saw them from the front, so they're in the same position. But just as you see me, as I sit down, what I want you to notice is that I'm dropping my weight directly, vertically downwards. I'm not leaning forwards. So when I come into a horse stance, my knees go over my feet. You see, look at my back. You see my back drops vertically down. The tailbone still stays tucked under, and I'm in the horse stance here. What a lot of people do with horse stance is, in order to feel like they're lower down, is as they come into horse stance, they stick their bottom out and they lean forwards like this. Anyone can come low down when you're like this, leaning forwards. But you need to be upright and the tailbone tucked under. So even if you can only go a small way down, that's absolutely fine. Just whatever it takes for you to feel as though you've got something going on in the thighs, because that's what a horse stance does, is it really helps to strengthen the thighs. So you're in a horse stance, and from this position, what we can do is we can practice any of our Qigong exercises. So I think we did one at the beginning. We did a Qi circulation exercise where we were doing circles. So you just start with one hand on top of the other and move the hands out towards the sides, moving the Qi outwards, then lifting the Qi, keeping the shoulders down, bringing the Qi, gathering it in from the outside, making this lovely upside down V shape with your hands, drawing the elbows towards each other, palms facing, and then bringing the Qi down into Dantian in the lower abdomen. So let's see if we can go for one more circle, keeping your stance nice and low if you can. If you feel it in the thighs, that's great. If it's really hurting in the thighs, come up a little bit. Don't be in agony. Just drawing circles. And then allowing the hands and the stance to sink. So sinking in the knees a little bit if you can, with this downwards movement to draw the Qi down into Dantian. And then placing one hand on top of the other. And then just stepping together, just to give yourself a little rest for a moment. You shake the legs out. Hopefully you felt it down here in the thighs. So performing just a very simple stance like the horse stance is a really good way to build leg strength. But what I would say is please don't overdo it. It's better to be lower, be higher up in your stance rather than go too low down, and maintain the correct form and the correct posture with the back and not allow yourself to come forwards, rather than to sink down too deeply and then to be leaning forwards and be in the wrong posture and maybe put strain on areas of the body that you don't want to be putting any strain on. And with the horse stance, you can just build it up, do a little bit each day, and you'll find very quickly, if you practice that every day, that you can stay in that position for longer and longer each time, and it just becomes easier and easier for you. But I would say with horse stance, it's never easy. It never gets really easy, because the more you practice it, the lower you can go down and the more you feel it in your thighs. But it's just brilliant for strengthening the thighs. So what we're going to do is build on that now, still working with the horse stance, and do a little bit with the balance as well, a little bit working with the feet and the ankles too, to give yourself that real sense of grounding. So again, just stepping into the horse stance and just trying to find a good position that's not too low, where you're not in agony, and then just placing your hands on your thighs or maybe just up in a kind of inverted fist with the chest open, the shoulders and the elbows pulled back. And from here now, just lift one heel off the ground and drop it, and then the other, and drop it. So this really brings attention to your feet and develops that connection that your feet have with the ground. So just alternating, focusing your mind on your feet, keeping the tailbone tucked under, and then maybe now try both feet coming up onto your tiptoes in a horse stance, and down, and up, and down, and up, and down, and then stepping together again, and shaking out the legs. So that gives you a few exercises that you can work with from a horse stance, but any of the Qigong that you've learned with me so far, if there are any arm movements involved, you can always either choose to do them from your regular Qigong stance, or you can do them from a horse stance if you really want to work on building up that leg strength. So you have options with the Qigong exercises pretty much all the way through. It's very easy to adapt them and to change them in a way in which you can fit them to your own individual needs and what you want to get out of your Qigong practice. So that's really kind of working with building up leg strength. So we've got this lovely idea of the stance and feeling connected with the ground. We've got a few balance exercises there by lifting one leg and then the other, just to practice with that, and you can use a chair or a table to stabilize yourself if you need to for that. But again, with practice, you'll find that that will improve. And then also working on building a bit of leg strength by using a horse stance and a few exercises around that. So the last part of this lesson is working on things to do with the ears and the kidneys, because with anything to do with balance, if you want to have good balance, then your ears are involved in that, especially your inner ear. So for any of you who've ever had inner ear infections, any issues with vertigo, any things like labyrinthitis, anything else to do with blood pressure, blood pressure issues can cause things to do with inner ear as well, and things not really working properly in terms of balance. You'll know that the ears have a really huge influence on our balance. So from a Chinese medicine point of view, what's a really helpful thing to do is to make sure that our ears have as much circulation of qi and blood going to them as possible, because when the circulation in that area is open and free-flowing, then the ears will naturally bring themselves back into that optimum state of health. So we can do this just by, obviously we can't get to the inner ear, but we can work with the external parts of the ear and using a little bit of massage, which will stimulate the acupuncture points around the ear area. So the first one I want to show you is by using your index finger and your middle finger, so these fingers, and what you're going to do is to place the middle finger in the front, at the front of the ear, and the index finger behind on both sides. So I'll turn sideways on, so hopefully you can see that there. So middle finger is at the front, index finger is behind on both sides, and then from there, all you're going to do is just, doesn't matter what the rest of the fingers do, is just rub up and down, back and front of the ears. So rubbing up and down quite vigorously, so that you feel a little bit of heat around the area. There are many, many acupuncture points around the ears which are being stimulated as you work with this little massage. So we're just keeping going, as fast or as slow as you want, and you can do this for as long as you want as well, just to stimulate that whole area around the ears. And then relaxing, shaking out the hands. And then the next thing we're going to do is we're going to grab with the thumb and the index finger, is we're going to grab the earlobes. Grab the earlobes and squeeze them, pinch them, and then let them go. A pinch and let go. Pinch and let go. And then work your way up around the outside part of the ear, around the cartilage and the outside of the ear. If you can see me from the side here, as I do this, just going up to the top of the ear, just pinching, stimulating the tops of the ears all the way around, and then back down again. Working your way down towards the earlobes once more. So that's a really nice way of stimulating the acupuncture points around the ear. And even though, as I said, we obviously can't get to the inner ear, which is to do with our balance, by stimulating the acupuncture points around the external parts of the ear, those channels of qi flow where we're stimulating the points, they're on channels of qi flow, they go inside as well. They go to internal parts of the body. So by stimulating points on the outside, we can reach the interior of the body and bring more nourishment, more qi, more energy to those areas as well, so that they can reach that optimum state of health. So that's the ear aspect of the balance. And remember what I said to you at the beginning as well, which was that in Chinese medicine, the kidneys are very much associated with the ears. The ears are the sense organs of the kidneys in Chinese medicine. So if we have a healthy kidney system, then again, that can have a benefit for the ears and for our sense of balance. So what we're going to do now is another massage, which is working on the lower back area and the kidneys being in the lower back area and really stimulating that. So what we're going to do is use the heels of the hands, so this part here on both sides, and we're going to use the heels of the hands to rub down from the upper back area to the lower back area in the kidneys. So I need to turn around to show you this, but I'm going to tell you what to do so that you can hear me properly as I'm facing the microphone. So you're just literally with the hands, you're going to be rubbing up and down with the backs of the hands. So I'll turn around and show you, you can watch and follow along. And you can do this for as long as you want. And again, you want to be rubbing fairly vigorously so you feel a little bit of heat. You want to put a bit of heat and circulation into the kidneys, okay? And then just shaking off the hands. So hopefully by doing that, you felt a lot of warmth coming into that lower back and that kidney area. So stimulating the kidneys can have a beneficial effect on the ears and on your sense of balance as well. So there are a few tips in order to bring about a greater sense of balance so that you are less likely to fall over, so that your legs feel stronger, so you feel more secure as you're moving around, and if you're doing any sporting activities, so that you actually can perform a lot better and be more secure in the movements that you're making as you play sport as well. So just to finish this class, we're going to come back to the abdominal breathing. So again, just checking, looking down at your feet, checking that you're in the correct Qigong stance. You want the feet to be hip-width distance apart, feet facing forwards, and closing your eyes and breathing into your lower abdomen. Breathing in, feel the belly expand, and breathing out, feeling the belly shrink back towards the spine. And by finishing with abdominal breathing, this is consolidating your practice. This is allowing your body to register what you've just been doing with the different Qigong methods and practices you've performed. And also it gives you a chance to notice how you feel. How does your body feel now? How does your mind feel? Emotionally, how are you feeling? So observing the physical, mental, and emotional aspects of how we feel after Qigong is really important. It gives us an idea of how we're progressing through exercises if we're working on a specific practice, but also by being more observant in this way, it allows us to notice anything as it crops up, if the small things crop up, little niggles of aches and pains or stiffness, as they arise. If we're very observant, we can notice them before they become any kind of major problem and nip them in the bud by doing some simple Qigong exercises to address that. So it's almost like weeding a garden, pulling out the small weeds before they become an issue. You don't want to have a garden that's full of huge weeds because it turns into a much bigger job that takes a lot longer to achieve. So any small aches and pains and niggles, anything at all that you notice through your increased powers of observation can be quickly and much more easily dealt with. So now just placing one hand over the lower belly, with the other hand directly on top of that. And then keeping the mind in the lower abdomen area, in Dantian, just circling firstly in one direction, and then in the other direction. Just to seal in the qi, the dantian, and to consolidate your practice for today. Keeping the eyes closed now. Bring the hands together, rub the palms together until they get really, really hot. And then when you feel lots of heat between the hands, if you're wearing glasses, you might need to take them off. I'm going to ask you now to place one hand, one palm flat over each eye, fingers facing up towards the ceiling, feeling the heat from the palms of your hands going into your eyes, through the back of your eyes, and that lovely warmth nourishing your mind. And then when you feel the heat dissipate, just begin to give your face a little rub up and down, a little face wash. And as you do that, slowly opening the eyes and allowing the hands just to drop down by your sides. And maybe just giving your body a little shake by just bouncing up and down on your knees, turning side to side. Maybe shaking the legs out, shaking the arms out, just to bring yourself back into the room. So that's your lesson for today, all to do with using Qigong to help with balance. So just to summarize that, the first thing is you want to check that you've got a lovely, solid and stable Qigong stance. Secondly, you can practice a few balances by coming up onto the tiptoes and then balances on one leg. Thirdly, you can work with improving your leg strength by using the horse stance and practicing some Qigong exercises from a horse stance position. But do remember, don't overdo that and just build that up in terms of time. Build it up gradually. Just practice a tiny amount each day and then you'll eventually be able to go longer and longer in that horse stance position. And then the last thing was working with your ears and with your kidneys, which are connected with your sense of balance from a Chinese medicine point of view. So working with some massage, some sense massage, in order to stimulate the acupuncture points and the qi flow through those areas so that they can maintain or achieve their optimum level of health. So I hope you enjoyed that practice today. If you have any questions at all, my email is on the website. You can email me, janice@spacetorelax.com. Please do get in touch if you need to ask me anything, and I'll be delighted to help you. So I look forward to seeing you in the next class, and I really hope you have a good day.